Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and the Word. We've got our coffee going here this morning. We've got the Word in front of us. We're ready to get started as we're looking at Psalm 62 today. Hope you guys had a good day yesterday. Just want to put in a little plug for our local fire department yesterday as they did a really nice gesture yesterday. Had a memorial service uh, in memory of 9/11 and the firefighters and others that lost their lives that day, and the firefighters that dedicated themselves that day to doing their work. And it was just a nice ceremony. Um, Hopefully next year, if they do that, we'll get it publicized a little more and more people be there, because it's nice to see our men and women in this community that dedicate themselves to that service, honoring those who have come before them and dedicated to service, and those who serve alongside them today as well. So anyway, a nice day. A lot of turmoil going on in the world yesterday. We know as every day. Uh, some of it gets through our news channels to us, and a lot of it we don't even hear about. There's turmoil going on everywhere every day, and somebody's life is disrupted and messed up every day. And we need to just thank God every day when we have a normal day, a calm Midwestern day, and we take those for granted too often. We make big drama out of little things that come in our lives, and we don't really think about the big things that are going on in the world all around us. And we won't get into all the political news today and all the stuff that's going on around the world, but there's just a lot of stuff that we just take for granted, that we're so blessed right here where we're at. Even those of us who have lost jobs are blessed compared to other peoples in the world. So just consider today how blessed you are to live here, to have your family, to have what health you have, to just have a day when when bombs are not dropping around us and all that kind of stuff. And consider today that you can step outside and enjoy this sunshine. We just have so much to be thankful for. This morning we're going to read in Psalm 62 and know that each day, every day, all day, we have this great God that we can call to, and that will be our rock. And that's the tone of David's psalm today in Psalm 62. It's just a beautiful, poetic psalm. You can just kind of imagine singing some of this, some of the refrains of this. Some of this we have actually. Just driving by, I got to stop and look. I'm ADHD. I'm distracted by everything. But you can imagine as we read some of these words, the beauty of these words, that we've seen them come into so many of our modern songs, but you can realize that as David wrote these and recited these to the people, that they would become an anthem of theirs to sing, to lift praise to God. So let's read it thinking about that this morning. This is a way to lift praise to God. Let me get another drink here. My soul waits in silence for God only. From Him is my salvation. He is, excuse me, let's start over if I can't get it right. Let's start over here. My soul waits in silence for God only. From Him is my salvation. He only is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I shall not be greatly shaken. How long will you assail a man, that you may murder him, all of you? Like a leaning wall, like a tottering fence, they have counseled only to thrust him down from his high position. They delight in falsehood. They bless with their mouth, but inwardly they curse. My soul, wait in silence for God only, for my hope is from Him. He is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I shall not be shaken. On God my salvation and my glory rest. The rock of my strength, my refuge is in God. Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Men of low degree are only vanity, and men of rank are a lie. In the balances they go up, they are together lighter than breath. Do not trust in oppression, and do not vainly hope in robbery. If riches increase, do not set your heart upon them. Once God has spoken, twice I have heard this, that power belongs to God, and loving kindness is yours, O Lord, for you recompense a man according to his work. Beautiful words today, and I liked again when David repeats something. It's of importance to him, and it's something that we can look at as maybe as important to us. And we see that poetic pattern here. But in this case, he starts off with the first two verses. My soul waits in silence for God only. From him is my salvation. He only is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I shall not be greatly shaken. We have two verses. Now we're going to look at when he repeats that in verse 8 or verse 5, it becomes 4 verses. But before we go there, I want to look at what he says here in verse 2. He only is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I shall not be greatly shaken. Now, I just want to point this out because we've read David at other times say that we will not be shaken. And I kind of took a little bit of offense to that. Not offense, but I disagreed with that statement a little bit, because I think we can be shaken even when we're in God. There are such startling circumstances that can happen in this walk that we can be shaken. But like a skyscraper, which is meant to shake in the wind but not fall off its foundation, I think that's what we are, that we're not greatly shaken to the point of falling. And I like the way he puts that here in this verse, that because of what's designed into us, because of the architecture of God's strength and God's faith that's been designed into us, that in our faith in Jesus Christ, there are times when something can shake us. I would be lying to you to tell you that when we lost James, when James died, that I wasn't shaken. That would be a complete lie. I was shaken, absolutely. We all were. But because of God's design in my life, because of God's architecture of who I am, I was made to not be thrown off my foundation. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, that we can be shaken and by design not moved off the foundation of our faith. Now, back to verse 5, where he repeats these thoughts, but he expands on it. And I love that as he's thought about it, he expands on it even. And that's the way it should be with us. As we think about God and what he's done for us, think about the blessings we have from him, that our thoughts ought to expand, and our vision of him and who he is and what he does for us should expand, and how important he is in our life. Verse 5, he repeats, my soul wait in silence for God only, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I shall not be shaken. Now that was exactly what he said in verse 3 and 4, was it? 1 and 2, excuse me. Now, listen to what he adds. On God my salvation and my glory rest. The rock of my strength, my refuge is in God. Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. And look at what he adds here. He adds to this the fact that he realizes that his only glory, his only hope for glory, is in God. My glory rests in him. He is my strength. He adds that. He is my strength. And then he adds words to us. Trust in him at all times, O people. Before he's talking to my soul, I'm talking to you, wait in silence, for my hope is from him. And then he takes that testimony and he shares that testimony with someone else in verse 8. And he says, trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Earlier he said he's my refuge. And in realization of that, he takes that realization that God is my refuge and what God has done for me, I can share that with somebody else. Isn't that awesome? That's just personal evangelism shown us. That as we realize what God has done for us, how important he is in our life as our strength, our salvation, our stronghold, that as we realize that, we're like, hey, this great God of mine is the great God that can be your great God too. So I want to tell you, old peoples, trust in him and pour out your heart before him. And God's a refuge for you as well as for me. Great song, great lesson. Verse 11 is an important verse for us too. Excuse me. Man, I guess it's just the allergy stuff starting to look again a little bit, and I may have to start taking some medicine for that. My eyes kind of gunked. Anyway, apologize. Verse 11 is an important lesson for us because listen to this. It says, once God has spoken, twice I have heard this, that power belongs to God. Now, it's important for two reasons here. First, it is stating to us that power belongs to God, and we get that established in our head, that power belongs to God. Because he's gone through a couple of verses here where he says, you know, men of low stature, men of vanity, men of high rank, they're really, in the scales of justice, they fly up into the air because altogether they don't weigh anything in the scales of justice. And then he goes on and talks about the power belonging to God. And that's very important stuff. The other thing I want you to see here, though, is he says, once God has spoken, twice I have heard this. There's so many times in Scripture where God repeats himself. We see that a lot in Jesus' teaching, that he would repeat himself. Truly, 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 I say to you, that's like your antennas ought to go up. I'm like, I need to listen to this extra special. God just repeated himself. I need to listen to this. This is, you know, if your mom calls your name once, but if she calls your name twice, you better be getting to the house. Pay attention to God at all times. But when you hear him repeat himself, you know he's ready to tell you something very important. Pay attention. All right. Tomorrow we're going to look at Psalm 63. You know, it'll be another great lesson. I really enjoyed this lesson. Take from this today how great our God is. Take from this reflection upon what God has done for you, how he's helped you in your life, and then use that to tell someone else about the great love and mercy of our God, who is all strength and our refuge. See you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. God bless you. And get in the Word.